Welcome to the welding shop during these strange COVID times. Please have a look at the entrance of the door here for postings of COVID, maximum occupancy in the shop. Do not enter if you're sick. And let's help spread COVID-19. Before entering the shop, you're going to need to be screened by the instructor. Wait for the instructor before entering. There is a flow path throughout the shop. There's a map here. And before even coming onto Camosun, you need to take the self-assessment online tool. As you're entering the shop, you always need to wash your hands or hand sanitize. Also in this area, I think the cellular phones is probably not going to be a thing anymore since everything's on D2L, but we do need our safety shoes and safety glasses and our hearing protection. So before entering the shop, we do have to line up in the hallway. We do have these stickers on the floor on where to stand. So we have to line up here in the morning to be checked by the instructor to enter into the shop. As you've been screened, you can enter into the shop, and on the right we have 2 hand washing stations. In case you're not sure, there's instructions on how to wash your hands or hand sanitize. There's also instructions here to maintain a social distance. If you cannot maintain the social distance, you need to put on a mask. I strongly encourage wearing masks. You have hand sanitizer pump over here. Our tool room is located right to the left here. We do not hand out earplugs or have common touch points. If we do have a common touch point, we'll have a hand sanitizing area for that. If you need any grinders, you will get them from here. They will be sanitized. If you need any consumables, it'll be here and it'll be sanitized. You'll have to ask the tool room attendant. You'll see arrows on the floor for flow direction. These will be the welding booths that we're going to be using. Before entering here, we do have our display area. There's not any TIG welding display on here as of right now. I'll have some over at the instructor's table. We do have TIG rods for use here. The flow of the shop will be with the arrows on the floor. Do have to follow the arrows. There is 60 welding booths here in the shop. There is a light switch at the end here, as this is a little bit dark right now. Turn the light switch on. And it just goes up and down the rope from there. Let's have a look in the welding booth. Here's the machine right here. The power switch is right here under this dust cover. Do not pull that dust cover off. It takes a little bit for the machine to turn on and calibrate. While the machine is doing that, we'll have a look in the booth. There is a light switch in every booth. There'll be a stool in every booth. Every booth should have a nice clean ground table. should have a broom and a dustpan. And there is a welding arm that inserts into this pipe right here. For the TIG welding that we're going to be doing, we'll be able to weld right on the table. Gas selection is over here. Make sure we're on argon. Argon flow will be about 15. Make sure the hose is connected. These are quick connects, real simple and easy. Every booth should have a foot pedal for their TIG. Every booth should also have a TIG torch, which is plugged in. We'll be running a 1/16 tungsten with a number 5 cup. Talk about that later. These will need to be ground. The negative part, or the positive, is hooked up to the welding tree here. And you'll also have a ground jumper in here, because as you're welding on this table, any dust or particles with stainless could put pock marks in the material. So a direct ground is always better. This TIG torch here is hooked into the machine right here. This is a dense connector. The gas does flow up through the inside of the line to cool the line. One nice thing about these machines with the advanced module is you never have to change any of these plugs from negative to positive, as the machine just does it all for you. For our stainless steel and mild steel, carbon steel, we will be using program 375. High frequency TIG, and for the 1/16 will be 50 to 55 amps. There is a couple selections here. One would be the hot start, goes up to 10, so that means you're going to double the amperage for the first second, and then that will be nothing, that'll be just the 55. Press this button again here, brings you back to the program. We're going to be doing the 2-step mode here with the foot pedal. The foot pedal is plugged in right here. Make sure that's secured in there. Our pre-flow time, you could add some if you like for the stainless. Post-flow, you should be 1 second for every 10 amps. So we're about 6 seconds here. And we're back to the mode here. To find other programs in this machine, you can go all the way down to 0, and you can begin a search. You can select what you're searching for. TIG. You can do touch start TIG, touch start pulse, frequency TIG, which we'll be doing, high frequency TIG pulse, AC TIG, high frequency AC TIG. We don't want to do touch start because we do have the foot pedal. Select what you're looking for and select. 375 is what we'll be doing here. That is the welding booth. If you would like the instructor to come into the welding booth, you need to wear a mask. These booths are all numbered, and there will be signs on the door to say whose booth is whose. Over here we have our grinding station for our tungstens. When we use this, we'll try to avoid putting grooves in the stones, try to utilize the whole stone. We do have a truing tool. We could flatten this out. You can use the drill or not with your tungsten to spin on there, so it does spin. Tungstens do face up as you're grinding, trying to get a nice point on there, and both sides are the same. This is the same here from side to side. Our other grinder is out of commission right now, and again the sanitizing for each station. Here's the instructor's table. So in here is an Improtect V205, same as the next one next door in sheet metal. So here's a couple examples here. When using the 1/16 tungsten, you're going to find an easier time burst tacking the pieces together. 1/16 tungsten, these are all fuse welded, no rod added at all. With the 332 tungsten, it will carry more amperage in that tungsten, so it'll appear hotter, and also you'll be able to travel faster. A little bit harder to control, but the 332 will travel faster. 1/16 might be easier to learn on. For your pieces, to set up your pieces here, tack them together. Have a piece of angle iron. So you can set your pieces on to tack, a piece of aluminum, or a magnet. Magnets work as well. They're not going to work with the stainless. That's the problem with the stainless and the magnet. Over here we have lots of examples from inside corners with 332 filler rod, 1/16 filler rod, or just fusion. And then we have outside corners with 332 filler rod, 1/16, and just fusion. We have some pulse welding examples here as well. And we have lots of other examples of some 16 gauge here from a butt weld, fillet, lap weld, and an edge weld down over here. And the same, this would be 11 gauge, the same thing. Again, the fillet weld, butt weld, lap weld, and edge weld. And with the stainless over here, all this is fusion. You can see the T-joint here, the fillet, the butt weld, the lap weld, and the edge weld. Here's an example of the fuse butt here at 50 amps. And here's an example of heat transfer. So with 11 gauge plate, if it was welded at 100 amps, you can see the heat transfer here, or the heat input, versus 90 amps. 90 amps, you would have to travel slower, so you can actually see the difference in the heat lines here. So the 100 actually has less heat input because you're able to travel faster. So having a lower amperage does not always mean less heat input. So there's a great example of that. And then the aluminum. If we have time, we'll get on to the aluminum. And again, the same thing. We just have our fillet, our butt, our lap, and our edge here at the end. And then just some other material that's tacked together. Lots of examples there to have a look at. For the barbecue that you guys are doing, you're only going to need to know the fusion of the corner. We'll be looking at this one here, fusion at the corner. So practice that 1/16. We do have lots of material. Do practice with the carbon steel first. This is all 1/16. Practice tack welding first. Tack welding all your pieces together. As soon as you get good at the carbon, we'll move on to the stainless. It's a lot more money, so we don't want to waste this material here. No wasting material at all. The more pieces we can tack together, we'll utilize the material. So looking for something like this, then you can weld both sides. On each side, these can all be tacked together. So you can take this one here and tack it onto that one there. We don't want to just weld this and throw it out. We want to utilize as much material as possible. There will be material in all your booths, so we don't have to come here and grab material. Like I said, anytime that we have a common touch point, we do need to wipe down. If you'd like to change out the consumables on your TIG torch from the 1/16 and the number 5 cup, we can change that out for the number 6 cup, and you'll have to change your collet body and your collet and your tungsten. The different colors here being the lime green and the purple will be the same. It's got 3 additives into that rod, so that rod does it all. Tungsten electrode, I should call it. The cap here, make sure that you have a O-ring on there, and as you assemble this into the torch, do not over tighten the cap. Over tightening the cap will over tighten this collet. This collet here has a little slot in it, and that little slot will become distorted, and your electrode will not hold in there very well and will be falling out of the end of the nozzle.